What's up, Zach Oates here, author, entrepreneur, and customer relationship guru. Welcome to Give an Ovation, growth strategies for restaurants and retailers, where we find industry leaders to share their secrets to grow your business. This podcast is brought to you by Ovation, the actionable guest feedback tool that works on or off premise and is easy, real-time, and actually drives revenue. Learn more at ovationup.com. Welcome back to Give an Ovation. Today, on this next special COVID-19 edition, we've got Jake Lyman of Hound. Hound is a really cool product, really cool company. Basically, the way that I think of it is, if Groupon were actually invented by business owners, as opposed to people who wanted to make a lot of money, Hound would be what it is. So Hound is the new version of it's not a gift card. It's getting people in. The cool thing is we've got Jake with us today. Jake Lyman, who specifically works with restaurants at Hound, works with lots of local restaurants, usually to get people in the doors. But during this whole COVID-19 craziness, Jake and his team are working to get revenue in the doors and get those people in the doors later on. So far, it is in the last few weeks, they've generated $700,000 worth of business for companies, which is really cool. So they help you get more customers than you can handle, and they define that as a good problem. Jake, thanks so much for coming on Give an Ovation. Appreciate you being here, man.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited to be here with you.
So in your experience, Jake, what are restaurants really facing right now? With this shortage of people coming in the doors, how are they still getting revenue? What have you seen?
Well, there's a lot of restaurants that just aren't getting revenue. So that's pretty unfortunate. I think that there's a lot of ways that just about any restaurant out there could be. And so it really does make me sad when I call up a restaurant and find out, they're just plain closed. Because there are opportunities like takeout and delivery that so many restaurants have shifted over to. And I think many of them are doing a really good job with that.
Yeah, we actually work with a couple of really large nationwide chains of buffets, and yeah, like even they're shifting their model to more takeout delivery. So it's definitely possible. Not easy though. And what have you seen? What have you seen them doing? Like, how are they making that shift so quickly?
It varies. There's one restaurant that we've been working with. Shout out to Daily Jam in Tempe. They were primarily a breakfast and brunch place, and they realized that they weren't getting hardly any delivery and takeout orders in the morning hours, but they were getting phone calls later in the day from people wanting delivery later. So they decided to extend their business hours from closing, shortly after lunch to now they're open till like 9 or 10 o'clock or something. And so they realized, okay, that the market has shifted, and so we need to shift with it. And being flexible like that, I think, is key in times like this. So that's just one example, but I think being creative, listening, and trying to identify where there are opportunities to serve food to people and get food to people are really critical. Another example, I was talking to another local restaurant down here in Arizona, and they have been working on some programs with like hospitals and different first responder type places where they're going to be able to help provide food to these first responders. And so they're going to be doing good for me. Also, that's another way that they can get some revenue in, during these crazy times.
Yeah, and I love that. So getting scrappy, right? It's all about how do you do that? And for a lot of these restaurants where they've kind of had this one mindset of getting people in the four walls, I guess with your experience, specifically at Hound, how have you guys found this transition of getting people in the four walls versus getting people just to engage, right?
So what we do, Hound, is we are a foot traffic generation platform. That's the language we use to
Uh-huh.
describe ourselves. And right now, when foot traffic is just not possible for so many businesses, we've had to shift that focus. And so we've been in kind of that same boat with these restaurant owners, having to shift from strategies to bring people into their four walls and get the butts in the seats to now, okay, how do we promote pre-purchasing vouchers and gift cards? How do we promote takeout, delivery, all these ways that a restaurant can, you know, keep functioning, but outside their four walls. So what we do right now, a lot of is a support voucher program, so that restaurants can promote and sell a discounted voucher. Consumers buy these vouchers so that the restaurant gets the revenue now, and then down the road, once the restaurant's able to reopen to foot traffic, the consumers can come in and use the voucher.
S-
Uh,
So,
and so that sort of thing was a really small part of what we did 2 months ago, but
hmm.
now it's about 99% of what we're focusing on. So it's that kind of shifting.
So okay, now when I first heard this, I was like really confused when I first heard about Hound. So I was like, so you sell gift cards? And they were like, well, not exactly. So can you explain the difference between why don't you call it a gift card? Because that was the thing. I was like, it's like a gift card, right? And then somebody on your team was like, no.
Yeah. So a gift card is something that a consumer gets a physical card. They can use part of it, they use all of it. It's a currency. Uh, we're just understanding that most restaurants just aren't set up for that, or they have a specific gift card system that if you want to purchase that card, you have to go through a specific process like creating an account and all. If you're wanting as many people as possible purchasing a gift card right now, you don't want to put them through all of that. So
Mm,
instead, we have a much simpler system where it's a voucher. They can exchange that voucher for goods or services in your restaurant, just like they could a gift card, but it's all or nothing. So they have a $20 voucher. You're going to redeem all $20 all at once. So there's a lot of restaurants that are selling some pretty big vouchers right now, and they're setting up a system where they'll give out their own gift cards, or they'll even hand write out a, a voucher from the bartender saying, hey, you still have $16 that's left with us on your next visit, that sort of thing. But really the main thing is that a voucher versus a gift card just makes it simpler for the consumers to purchase, and then also simpler for the restaurant to use on the back end. They don't have to have a whole gift card system set up, just redeem
gotcha.
it all or nothing.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. And so what types of vouchers are people doing? Because to me, this kind of sounds like more of like an experience thing as opposed to like a typical gift card, right? Like you buy a voucher to on Groupon, for example. Like I'll buy a voucher to go skydiving, and then you go and you skydive. It's not like you bought that thing as opposed to like buying a monetary amount typically, right? So you're more kind of on the voucher. It simplifies things. And then how do you get paid? Because I'm assuming you're not a nonprofit.
Nope, we are a business, and just like every other business owner watching this podcast, we want to make money. Hound's business model and pricing model is fairly unique. We actually started uh, implementing this sort of pricing model in 2019, where we're no longer charging monthly fees. We don't have contracts, commitments. There's no setup fees. There's no upfront cost or commitment. With Hound, we want to be paid on our performance.
Hmm.
And so we patented a pay per visit pricing model. So what that means is when a restaurant sells a voucher, let's say it's a $40 voucher, uh, that's great. The restaurant gets $40. We're not Groupon. We're not keeping a restaurant's money hostage until redemption or any nonsense like that. When a customer makes a purchase, the restaurant gets the money. Uh, when the customer shows up to use that voucher in 3 weeks or 3 months or however long this lasts, that's when it's going to generate a visit. and that visit will generate a pay-per-visit fee for us. Those fees are typically between about 80 cents for a coffee shop up to about $4 or $5 for like a nice sit-down restaurant. It just varies depending on the type of revenue that's going to be coming in on a visit.
And can you use those vouchers? Is there any sort of like online ordering capability of those vouchers, or does it have to be used in person?
We want them to be used in person.
Okay.
Uh, the whole idea is we want this to be a customer that's going to be a sticky, loyal customer for that restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And so we feel like our job isn't done until they've actually gone and experienced your restaurant. Everybody knows that a customer from, DoorDash, Grubhub, all these places, it's awesome because that's connecting you to someone that you may not have been connected with without the delivery option.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not as sticky, they're not as loyal. But someone who's come and seen you face to face, they've met your servers, they've had a good experience, they've enjoyed the atmosphere. Those are the customers that are going to come back again and again. So those are the only ones that we're actually charging for.
See, and that's why for listeners and watchers, Hound Innovation, we actually have a partnership together, and the reason why is because that whole experience, right, where you get the people in, we measure the experience, make sure that it was a great one, and then help them with receiving more Hound vouchers. And so there's a really great synergy there between the customer experience and getting them in the door and getting them back in. And that's one of the things that we're really excited about working with you guys there, Jake. So any final words of advice based on, you're working with tons of restaurants, you've seen a lot of things, any final pieces of advice for restaurant owners, operators out there?
Yeah, I think my last piece of advice would be sort of along the lines of what we were talking about earlier with being creative, but find a creative way to do good in the community right now. There's a lot of people with a lot of different and suddenly new needs. And so there's a lot of ways we can fill that. For example, What's Cracking Cafe in Mesa, Arizona, they've been doing a lot of grocery delivery.
Mm-hmm.
Where there's people that need groceries, need food, and so they've been able to help provide that. So their delivery drivers are staying busier. They're not just delivering food orders, but they're also helping deliver groceries. So it's good for those restaurant employees. It's good for the restaurant because they get to sell some groceries, and it's good for the consumers who want local fresh groceries. And so there's all kinds of different things we can do to not only do good but also just support each other in this time.
Love that, man. So 3 takeaways are: 1, be flexible, be scrappy, don't be afraid to extend hours. As we've talked about in other podcasts, changing menus. I love that. Be flexible, be scrappy. Number 2, sell now, serve later, right?
Mm-hmm.
Get these vouchers. Recommend using Hound for that. If not, at least gift cards, like doing something to pre-sell right now. And then thirdly, do good. Find other ways to do good in your community. Love that, man. Great content. And how does someone get in contact with you or Hound, Jake?
So I would send them right to our website, hownd.com, Hownd. You can sign up yourself from there, or you can fill out a form for us to be in touch. If you want to reach me, email me, jake@hownd, Hownd.com.
Awesome. And are you from Arizona?
For the most part, I actually grew up in Utah. Then
so
Arizona.
You grew up in Utah, meaning that like is your name spelled like Jaquuh? Is that how you spell Jake?
Exactly.
Yeah?
Yes.
Utah's. We're based in Utah. Utah's got some weird spelling of names.
Yeah, there's a lot of creative names there, but yeah, I'm from Utah originally. Most of my life been in Arizona, but I also like to give a shout out to Texas. I lived there for a few years.
There we go.
Colorado too. So I
think there's
places.
a state you missed. I can't think of it though. Anyway, well, Jake, thanks for being on Give an Ovation today. And today's ovation goes to you for being rock star, getting those vouchers out there, working with restaurants through this COVID crisis. And we'll get through this because we'll get through it together. So thanks, Jake.
Yeah, thank you.
Glad you were with us today, and thank you. Thank you to the risk takers, the troublemakers, the crazies who are keeping this world clothed and fed. You're the ones who deserve an ovation. Again, this podcast was sponsored by Ovation. To see how we can help you grow your business, go to ovationup.com. Don't forget to subscribe, and as always, remember to give someone in your life an ovation today.